Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode. Today I got Aaron again, and we're gonna be talking about Rovo, the fate of Rovo, the future of Rovo, and really just talk about is Rovo the next big savior for Atlassian, or is it all just hype? So make sure you hit the subscribe button, drop a like, and Aaron, have you been using Rovo
Every day. Yeah,
every day?
yeah. I use
Hey,
everything every day.
I made a video about 2 weeks ago where I'm like, hey Rovo, how can I use you? And surprisingly, I find that Rovo sits on two different camps, right? Like there's the Robo for users and help me figure out what's blocked, help me figure out how to prioritize my work, like very user friendly stuff. And then there's Robo for like the agents, right? Like help me add a status, help me create a automation rule, help me do something a little bit more admin-y. And I have found that on the user side, it's probably better, and on the admin side, it's probably a little bit more lackluster. But what's your experience with Robo?
Yeah. So I I use an aggregation of like all the different tools today. Like I have Copilot next to me, and then I use Claude and Codex for coding, and then I have Rovo in my browser, like because I use the Edge connector for Rovo. So I have like my
Yeah.
work right when I get into my browser. Um, so I use Rovo for writing articles, aggregating data in Atlassian, helping with migration work, pulling data from insights, JCMA, all of that aggregation, and wrote a really good article not too long ago that got some good feedback about using Rovo for migrations, um, which I think it has some good places there. What I've had trouble with is like coding. Like if I'm coding with it in Rovo Dev and trying to like bring a Forge app to life, I've had better experience with Codex and Claude. And I think it's just because like the coding aspect of it understands more, right? Like I've had Claude tell me don't do this when I'm coding, and Codex like, hey, push the brakes. But RoboDev doesn't tell me those things. Like
It just
Robo
does it.
RoboDev is telling not telling you, it's just doing whatever it can
You
do.
tell it.
Sometimes it's not doing it, and I've faced some frustrations with it lately. So some of the feedback that I have about it is like when you're in the pullout version of Rovo, there's things there you can't do that you have to go to like create with Rovo, right?
Mhm.
Like if you're in Confluence or Jira, you want to create something with Rovo, it does some really cool things like whiteboards and tables and all of those things and databases. But um, it doesn't do that in the pullout. And I'm like, why can't like it's frustrating that I can't make it do that.
That was a comment that I had, about a month or a month and a half ago. I had a conversation with one of the Atlassian engineers that works on Rovo, and, like, the questions that I kept asking him, he was like, "That's not in my department." And I'm like, "What do you mean it's not your department? Isn't Rovo?" And he's like, "No, Rovo is Rovo Chat, Rovo Dev, Rovo Search, Rovo Agents. They're all they all share the Rovo umbrella, but they're 4 very distinct products."
Right, 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 right. And that makes sense because like
But it shouldn't be that way.
no,
It
but
makes
like
sense why the frustration is, but it doesn't make sense why Atlassian would architect it that way.
no, I think there is. So like if you look, have you ever heard of SOA, right?
The service-oriented architecture?
Yes.
I haven't heard of that term in 10 years.
So you can't like technically, I don't think any agent or any AI platform is built in a monolithic because how would you break that down, right? And I think like last I heard there was like 30 different AI componentries in the back end of Teamwork Graph and Atlassian Intelligence. And I stand to be corrected with that number. That's the last one I heard, and I think I heard that from the Rovo team. So if they're all interjected to this like monolithic thing, would it work right? Or what, or is like building it into like each portion of its own repos or where it's calling from, like uh like from the
I see what
cert
you're saying, yeah.
like I think that that could be why like they don't intersect. And I
But
think
do you think we would see these problems with, like, ChatGPT?
you do. You do see those same things in a different way.
So
So
if you're in Codex and you're trying to use it like chat, it's not gonna give you the same experience?
You will see different experiences, yes. So, like, in the chat that when I'm building that, sometimes I take data from the chat in the web version and then go over to Codex and paste some of that stuff because they don't connect, right? They're
Mm,
totally separated from each other, and for good reason, right? Like, there has to be session separation by, like, compliance and whatnot, like, because 'cause they're 2 different, areas of code and whatnot, and so like probably same backend, like mind frame, right? Like that brain is the same, but they're going off in different directions. And I think that's kind of the same thing. So we've been building an application at Trundle internally, and I've been playing with like injecting AI into it. And so like we have this like chat area, we have like where we're building some things for like syncing or for like mapping data or for like observation and like correction or observability. And so where those are interjected, they're doing very different things and they actually don't cross relate. And the only place where they cross relate is actually in the chat where I'm like, hey, can you view this thing? And it's like I can view that and I can tell you what it's doing, but I can't interact with it, right? Because there's that separation of duties, that separation of mindset. And I think like that's probably what's happening at with Rovo is it's there's so many pieces to it. Like think about when it was intelligence and not Rovo, and now it's just Rovo because they said, "Hey, it's all one thing, but it's
thing,
probably
yeah.
different directions," and I think that's why it is. But I think it will get better over time. So like the things we're seeing it not work well, I think eventually it will work as expected, but there's that delay in like getting feedback and understanding what needs to be adjusted for it and what it should do and what it shouldn't do. The one thing I seen PRs when it first started hooking up in the beta with the PRs, it was horrible. I'm like, that's not even relevant. Why is it telling me that? But now I can actually trust it if I commit something and a PR comes up because I push it for PR. Um, when I go into that PR and look at the comments, I actually can evaluate like, hey, those are good things to look at. And I should be looking at them and I should be communicating that to my team. Where like 3 months of 4 months ago, I would have been like, oh, turn it off. I don't even want to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Rovo's had quite the bumpy journey from its inception, starting off with their "We're gonna bill you $20 per user per month" to it doesn't really do anything to now it's starting to get more powerful, and I think I start to trust it more and more as the days pass. The only thing that doesn't settle well with me is like that I need to trust it more as the days pass. I've been able to trust ChatGPT since day one.
Uh,
I've never had to doubt it. Like I doubt Rovo more than I doubt other tools.
so I don't accept any of their code, any of them, like because it'll go off on like code tangents that I'm like not even wanting it to. And that goes for all of them. I would say they've gotten all better. And I would say that like there's a hierarchy, like Claude Code is my go-to for code, and then Codex, and then Gemini. Um, with Rovo, I'm not really using it anymore. I've had like a lot of distrust with the code part, except for like in the PRs and for like some of that. I'm waiting
Yeah.
to see what happens when we can assign work to them and we can do the Jira code review or Jira code like excerpts where it will like rechange stuff for you and update. I think that will be super powerful as long as it's like really inflexing the code better. Because then that actually, like you talked about before, like where's Jira place? Well, if Jira can create a ticket and Rovo can create the ticket and then actually redo that code and then say, hey, you guys need to add that. That's powerful, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. And then the other comment that I would add though is like my one of my frustrations and I think it's getting better. Which again, I don't like that I have to say it's getting better. But the other thing that I think is an interesting observation is that Robo is touted as this like can switch between all the tools easily, and it doesn't always do that, right? Like if I ask it to create me a Confluence page, like it doesn't want to create me a Confluence page. I
Where do
keep
you
find
get
myself fighting it more
it from the create or from the side thing?
from the chat.
Yeah, from the chat, it doesn't want to do that. Like I've done it where it tells me like I want to create a whiteboard, I want to create something, and it will like give me all these different like copy this into here.
Right, right, yeah. But that's not how they preach it, right? Like, Atlassian kind of demos on stage, and they're like, "Take this Zoom video and make Jira tickets and publish the summary into Confluence," and I'm like, "Okay, go do that," and it's like, "Here's a Confluence page you can copy paste." I'm like, "No, you
Yeah.
said you could go make the Confluence page and
Yeah,
make the Jira tickets."
that is frustrating going from chat to like create with Rovo and how they do different things. I wish from the side you could do that and it would push it to the center thing, and bring that up.
Yeah.
Eventually it'll have like where it displays a button to do that or something like when you're chatting with it, but as of right now it's totally segregated.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I think those would be the powerful things, right? Like, I think the gimmicky features work really well, like the definitions, the improved his writing, which is technically Atlassian Intelligence, rebranded. But on the agent front, I'm very optimistic for the agents, but I'm having a hard time understanding what's the difference between the prompt instruction part of the agent and then the skill. Like, why wouldn't I just put like, am I reskilling it? Like, am I supposed to go create like 1,000 skills and then like cherry pick the skills that I want the agent to be able to do?
So the prompting part of what it can do is one thing, and the skill is adding like a total another feature of what you can get it to do when you're chatting with it. So example, like I need to edit Jira tickets or Confluence pages. So um you say that you're really good at this thing, and then you give it the skill to actually go commit it for you. The confusion I had was like, when does that skill have to become an automation? And I found out like the other day trying to do this, like I've added scenarios, right? So this scenario does A, this scenario does B, this scenario does C. And a long time ago, when they didn't have scenarios, you actually had to have another bot that did that thing, like another agent did that explicit thing. And before the skills were there, you had to, so they've kind of upscaled that like, hey, you don't need an automation. You can give it a skill and then tell it to do it, it'll go do it. But you got to give it the explicit direction to actually complete that action, right? And
Yeah.
then if you needed to do multiple things, now you need a automation to say, go do this thing, and if this thing, go do this thing, and if this thing, go do this thing.
Yeah, that's kind of been in line with my experiences as well, right? So, I've been telling this story for like 6 months ever since Barcelona, where I'm talking with Sharif from Atlassian, and I'm like, "Dude, when are you guys gonna fix Rovo?" And he's like, "What are you talking about? Rovo works really well. It's your prompt, mate." And I found that the more specific and clear and minute that you are with Rovo, the more successful it is, right? Like, if you tell it to do one little thing, it can do one little thing. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it can do one little thing. Um, but I've also found that sometimes invoking it through an automation rule is more powerful than like using it through chat, which is the normal way I interact with the agents.
And I think that that's the idea is like, I can do this one action, AKA skill, right? Or I can ask it to do these two small things, right? Like, I need you to update this Jira ticket, and then I need you to attach this Confluence page, right? Or something like that matter. But then if I need it to do like that third thing, I think I need to add automation to say like when these two things happen, then do this
Then
thing.
we'll do something else. It just but see, for you and me, that's fine. We're nerds. We love this stuff.
Yeah, right.
But for an average individual whose day job is not any of this stuff, like, how in the world are they ever gonna, like, take the time to learn this crap?
Yeah, I know. That lets me think about like what is our job in the future going to be, and the regular worker, what is their job supposed to be now? Like, is everybody upscaling a level?
Well, I mean, does everybody literally just become, like, an agent coordinator, but, like, you gotta master all the different nuances of all the different agents out there? Because everybody's gonna have an agent at some point.
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at all of the new SaaS products, they all have agents. Monday, Asana. Like everybody's got agents, and then like you can go to these explicit people that just build agents for every SaaS product, right? So it's like agent heaven, right? Pick an agent. I see a day where I'm migrating agents in the future, right? Like I see that. But where is the ROI in
I don't know, I
this?
feel like we're gonna have to create, like, a Pokemon game where we just collect agents and, like, you train them up and you level them up. You fight one agent versus the other agent. You
I
beat
think
her
we're
with mechanics.
Confluence for teams where we like build out our Pokemon agents, and then we like see them like on a whiteboard or a Confluence page where they're like going through and like who's leveling up and
Yeah,
who's
but I mean, at this point with skills and scenarios and stuff, like, you basically are creating, like, "Here's my water-based agents, here's my fire-based agents. You're gonna wanna use a fire against a water," type of
I think
very
I looked at that the other day. So I've been creating agents for specific things that I do. Like I have a migration assistant agent who has like 4 scenarios, and I have a engagement estimator which will do the estimation of like the cost of everything, and then it also has a scenario where it will show profitability. So like, can we do this engagement or should we not do the engagement, right? Like, is
right.
it worth it for us? And so that agent's been pretty good because what we did was we created this documentation for migrations, and it shows all of our processes for the different types of migrations that we do and how we migrate and what the phases are and what the steps are in it. And so it can take the data from there and the data from like what our agents cost and all that stuff. And because that agent's built a certain way and it has like some XLH sheet or was it Excel sheets in the background and some other files, it can read those things and tell you exactly what is needed. But we have to have like explicit data in a ticket to be able to calculate off of those things, right? And so then it can relate that data back, update the ticket, and it's working really well.
Yeah, but that orchestration, again, is gonna require a different mindset here, like
For real, it's totally like architectural and not really technical. It's
yeah,
more
because it's well, not only that, but it's gonna be more like songwriting, right? Where you have, like, these predetermined chords, and I just gotta figure out which order of operation you put chords together to get something out.
I think so. Yeah, I can totally see that, and that's why I'm saying like we become architects rather than like admins, and we're doing things that are more business orientated architecture rather than actually Atlassian architecture, right?
Right.
Or the business needs that we're fulfilling with that song, right?
Alright, folks, thank you so much. This is basically our conversation on Rovo. What do you think? Are you seeing similar results as us, or are you really, really loving Rovo? Or are you really, really hating Rovo? Let me know in the comment section. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, drop a like, and we'll see you in the next one.